So it's my pleasure to introduce Jonathan Simons, who, if you don't know him, and I can't imagine you don't, is a medical oncologist, a scientist, a Hopkins-trained physician, a Mass General-trained resident, a Princeton undergraduate. He grew up in Ithaca, New York, and as I've been told by Jonathan himself, he was a pretty darn good baseball player as a kid. Baseball is one of our passions that we share. Since Jonathan has come to the Prostate Cancer Foundation, his energy, his enthusiasm, his intellect, his ability to raise money has really transformed our organization in positive ways. And for me personally, to get up every morning on the few days that we're actually in Santa Monica at the same time, when we're not in China or Norway or England or Seattle or who knows where, Jonathan provides me personally with tremendous scientific motivation to do more, to do it better. So it's just really great to work in an environment, in a foundation where that scientific stimulation is coming at you day and night. It's absolutely wonderful. So it's my pleasure to introduce you, Dr. Simons, and we look forward to your insightful remarks.
My first act here at the 19th Annual Prostate Cancer Foundation Global Scientific Retreat is to ask you all to join in standing ovation to Howard Sewell and the team that put this meeting together. It's wonderful to be with you. Who's here for the PCF Knowledge Exchange? Well, we have 149 MDs, 86 MD PhDs, 172 PhDs, 3 PharmDs, and 1 dentist, but an amazing dentist in bone biology. This year, we have 433 participants, actually a few more, but we have 346 from a university trying to solve the cancer problem, 87 from industry trying to solve the cancer problem. 13 countries are represented here today, 107 academic institutions actually, and 41 biopharmaceutical companies and their representatives. Our human capital has never been stronger. Who also is here? Well, we have all these Eleanor Roosevelt phenocopies. I would like Michael Milken, David Ederer, Chris Evanson, who will be here in the morning actually, so he will do that virtually. He's already been working this meeting on the phone. Skip Holden, Arthur Kern, Hank Nordoff, Larry Stupsky, Jeff Tarr, and Paul Vellante from our board to stand up and be recognized by the scientific community. And in recognizing them, I'd like also Ralph Feinerman and Catherine Morietis from the E.P. Evans Foundation, and Kate Dos Santos and Mark Baker. I'd like you also to stand up and be recognized because it's these partnerships that have grown the foundation over the last years. Mrs. Roosevelt said, "It is not fair to ask of others what you're unwilling to do yourself." We try to do virtually anything that's ethical to solve the prostate cancer problem with science, good medicine, partnerships, as you'll hear again today. And the future belongs to those who believe in the beauty of their dreams. Well, our dream is this will be one of the last Prostate Cancer Foundation meetings. We're here to put ourselves out of business with your science. And on that note, I'd like to actually tell you a little bit more about why one ought to be optimistic. At this meeting, we have never had more science and more actionable science for patients. We have 54 presentations and panels in the plenary. I encourage you to dive into the 91 poster presentations. We could actually carry this meeting out for 5 days, but the budget wouldn't permit it. We have 18 different scientific disciplines, and as you've heard, Michael Milken's dream is realized. We have one of the world's great plant geneticists working on cancer interception and unstable prostate epithelium. We have 27 presenters, but 49%, and this is in the DNA of this foundation, 49% of the talks this year, as in previous years, are from people who are giving their very first foundation talk. We are excited about the numbers of people that we're recruiting in the field, as much as we are those hardy souls who've been at all 19 of these scientific retreats, including a very much younger Skip Holden you saw in the video. Only shorter telomere length, still a very young soul. Where are we in the research enterprise this year? 297 days into 2012. There were 8,200 prostate cancer papers peer-reviewed and published on PubMed as of this morning. That represents another 46% increase in basically peer-reviewed research productivity compared to 2011, which was the greatest year in the history of the field for actually publishing papers in prostate cancer. We've never done a head-to-head comparison in other cancers, but we know that if you could read almost at the speed of Michael Milken or Howard Sewell, it'd take you 114 days without sleep to read every paper, studying the figures first, then the text at 20 minutes a paper. It's an enormous amount now of scientific information, noise, signal, concept, incremental and important, transformational, and opposed, controversial. And you saw in this session how quickly the foundation responds to the published word, including both Mythen and Swanton's presentations here from the United Kingdom. Well, what is Howard and the team, the science team and the science committee tracking? Well, it's an enormous research enterprise. The last time the National Cancer Institute actually got everyone together in the room, I was an assistant professor, and that was 19 years ago, basically, for a PRG with Don Tyndall and Peter Scardino. But we're actually tracking every week. 26 Team Science Awards we funded. There are 21 Challenge Awards. There are 2 new Dream Teams. You'll hear about it from Stand Up to Cancer and Partnership. Those are that's a $20 million new infusion in Team Science and Advanced Disease. We have 2 Special Challenge Awards. Currently, there are 121 individual investigator awards in our field. We have 100 young investigators. Mike will be talking more about that. Their human capital, their mentors, at a very cheap $22.5 million investment for the leverage they've brought our field. We have 9 U.S. centers getting just $3.2 million a year for our therapy consortium, which is about to evolve over the next year, but that's matched very favorably by the Department of Defense. And of course, that means that Howard's looking after the science of 156 investigators. They all have his email address, and that means over 500 investigators, not counting technicians, are actually a part of our research enterprise tonight. This is just Rorschach of the different kinds of team science. I wanted to point out actually 3 very interesting developments. It's very difficult to do this at this acute angle, but we have 2 Dream Teams you'll hear about. One is supported by an enormous contribution from Movember and major donors in both Southern and Northern California. That's a transnational American-Canadian Dream Team. You'll hear more about that from Owen Whitty and Eric Small. We have, of course, the international Dream Team of the British and the Americans. And both the Dream Teams met here today. That's co-PI'd by Arul Chennaiyan and Charles Sawyers. We also have a major $5 million effort in proactive surveillance. No time to discuss, but Val Carter and Skip Holden are working on that. We're very interested in solving the burden of prostate cancer in terms of eliminating unnecessary treatment. That would be a burden aspect of the disease. And we certainly believe that defining micrometastatic early prostate cancer is just as important as working on castration refractory prostate cancer. And of course, we have a whole set, if you go to PCF.org, of team science from Omid Farkhazad and Bob Langer in bioengineering nanoparticles against PMSA overexpressing hormone refractory prostate cancer, to how RB and PARP work in checkpoint control. I commend our website at PCF.org. There will be no quiz, although there will be a quiz from Mike. There won't be a quiz on the investigators. We've weighted heavily in the last few years for teams of teams and cross-disciplinary effort. but we're still trying to fund the most interesting first-in-field creative ideas. This is just a snapshot of Carl June and Phil Febo and Levi Garraway. That's Sam Denmead in a weed field. That's Pete Nelson. And of course, Marianne Sutter in Canada. We're very interested in more individual creativity, but we're calling them quantum leaps. And we'll be talking more about that at the end of the meeting. We're profoundly proud of the PCF 100. Over the past 5 years, we've launched the careers of 100 young investigators. The African proverb is that if you want to go fast, go alone. If you want to go far, go together. They work as individuals. Through social media, they're interacting very spectacularly. And you can see that aside from Antarctica, in South America, we have human capital all over the globe. One very profound and interesting aspect when you do these sorts of presentations is you realize that we've selected Phil Kantoff because of the Kantoff-Mentor-Leader Effect in Boston. When Mike created the foundation, it's hard to remember this far back, but really it was just Phil at the Dana-Farber and a couple people. And since that time, with all this human capital development, Phil's turned into a mentor leader of the stature of Don Coffey. And the Kantoff-Mentor-Leader Effect is in play at this foundation. We've asked Phil to join us professionally and formally to help us with our global treatment sciences network planning, our strategic planning for the next 5 years. Phil's the PI of an NCI SPORE, is known to everyone, but he's an unbelievably gracious servant leader to young people, as the histogram can show. We're a foundation with no borders for patients. So to the left here, we've launched in China, where we actually have a government agreement and where millions of dollars US in Chinese investment in prostate cancer has come to pass thanks to the leadership of Shmuel Meitar, our board member from Israel, and our chairman Michael Milken. And Winter Vinicki, who's running a marathon to raise money for this foundation on all continents, including Antarctica, raising money in memory of her father, who succumbed to a particularly aggressive form of prostate cancer. Winter Vinicki was running in Kenya. The little boy has a PCF blue wristband, has an iPad holding up Winter's page from our website, and it just speaks again now to the reach through the internet of the foundation and the lengths that we'll go to engage with others to bring a global solution to prostate cancer. There's no better developing case study in that than Movember, but you'll hear more about that later as a global movement on the scale of the March of Dimes against prostate cancer. Where are we in 2012? Well, we've had 5 FDA-approved drugs and perhaps a 6th in the last 27 months. William O. and colleagues put this nice thing together. And it's actually in a little monograph CA that every family practitioner and nurse actually reads. They're distributed by the American Cancer Society. Basically every internist and family practitioner in the United States of America. Probably the most important medical education in oncology comes from this monograph. So our patients down to primary care are being told there's new hope for prostate cancer. Patients can be put back in remission. And that's all a product of your work and this foundation's commitment. The real question here at this meeting is how to inflect the 2013-2016 slope further upwards. How do we bend up more Kaplan-Meier curves? How do we bring more of this science to patients that need it? And at the same time, address the fundamental scientific questions of being able to predict sooner and sooner how to manage this disease. Well, the answer is going to be the distillate of this meeting, which is to fast forward another wave of concepts in treatment sciences. Sciences against a whole set of targets you've started to hear about today. I've only taken a select set, everywhere from HOXB13 to rank ligand to Wnt16, on and on. But we're going to be summarizing all of this for all of you and putting it on our website. But there's an enormous obligation, enormous responsibility, and enormous opportunity to do a whole new level of treatment sciences for our patients in real time and in their lives. There's a lot of optimism. This is a quick snapshot. We have over really 700 primary and metastatic cases now where the target landscape is being filled out with genomic information. This is a slide provided by Charles Sawyers last week. The intracellular compartment is getting greater and greater definition. That's a good thing because anyone who's using the PC3 cell line has to understand that the car of choice for a station wagon was a Ford Fairmount in 1979 when it was put into culture. So we have 700 human beings with prostate cancer as a form of our interrogation, as opposed to the cell lines that define the early years of the careers of a number of us who are getting shorter in telomere length. We are hopeful for that intracellular epigenetic target Cityscape. It's being filled out. If you PubMed it tonight, it's still not published, but we're excited to have it. We know it's en route, and the fact that we know it's called a Cityscape suggests we have a pretty good understanding of the quality of that data. There is a version 3.0 opportunity now. It's to do a whole nother generation of immunotherapy research. It delighted me that Charlie Swanton, basically unprovoked, talked about understanding the branching evolution of cancer as an opportunity for neoantigens. But we are going to be investing heavily in another round of anti-neoplastic immune response off that monograph. You got a quantum leap talk, we think. Pete Nelson's talk about looking at the microenvironment-ome in a systematic way now, where Wnt16 is one of a whole set of very interesting molecules thinking about the supporting infrastructure and microenvironment seems to be terribly important. And frankly, RFAs will be, both in team and individual science, are going to be issued. That's a presidential promise. We're going to be thinking very hard about the microenvironment going forward. In fact, we're thinking so hard about it that we're already starting to think about how to raise money. To the right, for the civilians, the extinction, the massive Jurassic extinction of dinosaurs was thought to be because it was their habitat that was changed. There was no magic bullet drug for the dinosaurs. If you make an inhospitable habitat, a number of species simply go extinct. And this kind of extinction therapeutics is a very important thing to think about now that we're beginning to have a true microenvironment. We're getting the tumor microenvironment-ome defined in a way that it could be actionable, Wnt16 being one very important insight from Pete. So last year, the Institute of Medicine defined the omics for precision medicine of the future in a very beautiful monograph and made the comparison and contrast to Google Maps. This is known to most of you. At PCF, actually, we're very interested in the tumor microenvironment omics as a part of our RFA, or in building this data around patients and their experiences, not settling with just the epigenome or the genome, but truly understanding the microenvironment that these metastatic and primary tumors evolve in. And we wouldn't have this luxury if we didn't have high hopes and actually have a very high level of confidence after these drug approvals and the quality of science in this room that together as a community we could basically take the Escher diagram to the left and start to deconvolute and integrate all these levels of data in a way where patients could get a precision diagnosis and treatment, subsequent response to chronic disease, and ultimate cure. And to do that, we're going to be investing and asking your help in growing the global community of bioinformaticians who are largely not working in our field, but really would like to work in our field if they came to know us. One of the most interesting problems, I think, in all of oncology is ours for bioinformaticians. We've got drugs that work. We've got a great community that's collaborative. And actually, we have all these remarkable new tools. It's sort of beyond the expectation of any of us that a pathologist has to be a bioinformatician or a medical oncologist has to cross-train. But we do need to basically build these kind of new concepts of integrating all this data. It's probably not going to look exactly like Google Maps, but it would look like the way you would take care of each patient with precision and with predictiveness. And it would mean that every patient was a partner in their care because there would be a relentless interrogation of the disease they had, reduced to practice. We've got 2 dream teams doing it in real time, and we're very hopeful that this will become actually the research standard of care in the next 3 years. So to wrap up, we need to urgently but rigorously fill in the missing landscape and the details in patients in real time. We need to encourage far more patient participation and partnerships in predictive oncology in real time in research. We're going to work hard on that in Washington. We need to define clonal resistance, microenvironmental resistance in new ways where the vulnerability and the actionability of these targets becomes more obvious. We're very interested in the foundation's intercepting populations with prostate epithelia and early cancer at risk that's lethal with new actionable genetic determinants. You'll hear about HOXP13 here. We need to be incenting also out of the box thinking about mass extinction concepts. It's obvious that this is an area where the microenvironment, cell cycle entry, DNA damage repair that turns into an apoptotic decision, all these things we're very interested in now, and your better solutions would go here in this request. So we'll be asking you in a very different kind of crowdsourced way to apply for PCF Quantum Leap Awards, but this will be version 2.0 as well. And lastly, we want to fast forward concepts for bioengineering new molecules. We're not afraid that the target looks hard. Look what this foundation has done over the last 10 years. In the end, it's about patients. In Washington, at the Celebration of Science Mike Lab, we started talking about more and longer and more durable remissions for every patient, regardless of stage, and on a global scale. Winter lost her dad, and we have a lot of patients living in the state between health and progression. And we have a moral as well as a scientific obligation to work harder with more focus, but also with more optimism that we can bend these Kaplan-Meier curves. It's official. Harold Varmus and the Prostate Cancer Foundation are having a discussion about how the NCI could actually partner with the Prostate Cancer Foundation. Phil Kantoff will be helping Michael Milken and Jonathan Science, Howard Sewell, and Skip Holden with that. We have a signed agreement with the Chinese government. We think it's possible, actually, we could partner with the NCI. We'll keep partnering also nimbly with biotech and pharma, universities, foreign governments. If they're interested in pushing forward the solution, we're interested in being partners. We can't thank our global partners in Movember enough. They're as nimble, and some days more nimble than we are. And Mike, it's not we, it's Mike, we'll be getting back to you after the election because there's a lot of work to do for us as citizen scientists to carry forward a remarkable amount of momentum that's created at the Celebration of Science. And lastly, you need to check PCF.org frequently because we'll be trying to blast out those RFAs, but things are changing very quickly and readily. And if you've got hot data, email Howard. He'd be delighted to look at it. He ran over 100 journal clubs. They're actually seminars online. We're interested in more and more about what you're doing. It's the only way we're going to, there just aren't that many airline tickets we can get anymore. You're going to need to help reach out to us. If you're XY by genotype, if you've got enough DHT, grow a Mo this year in the United States of America and help support us and ending prostate cancer. If I can do it, no one can say they can't do it. And a PCF is now very global. It's very grateful for your civitas, your service to us, your generosity to other citizens in our community, and your total commitment. And we're grateful, the board is, we all are on the staff, to your scholarship, your compassion for patients, and for your making time to be here. I have to end dedicating this meeting to my friend. This will be a little difficult. Trip Cassells, who many of you know, who passed away from prostate cancer a few days ago. Trip was diagnosed, you'll hear more about his story, with very advanced prostate cancer, participated in 5 clinical trials. As a physician scientist, cardiologist, he kept talking right through his service as Assistant Secretary of Defense about being put back into remission as giving him more time to kiss away the tears of his family and his friends and lead the fullest life. Trip actually and a number of others are very fond of the Tennyson. We're very fond of the Tennyson poem Ulysses, and it's at the core of being basically a scientist and a patient together trying to solve the prostate cancer problem. And in his memory, we're going to strive, we're going to seek, we're going to find, and we're not going to yield until we put this disease away in the history books, and we all can go on to our families. So with that, from the bottom of my heart, from a $50 check in Conroe, Texas, that pushed us over the $500 million mark, for millions of men and their families you'll never meet, thank you for all you do for us, and we're really glad you're here.